is up, guys? Michael and Melanie here again to give you some really cool tips and tricks on saving money so you can live your dreams.
Yes.
What we're going to talk about today is something this guy right here is a pro at. And we're going to be talking about getting a great rate on your internet service. Okay, now this can be used also for like cable, TV, phone, anything that you basically have the power to negotiate with. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's going to give you some tips and tricks. I hate doing this, so I love that I'm married to him and don't have to. But he is going to basically tell you how to negotiate great rates on internet.
Yeah, for the record, I hate doing it too, but I do it because, again, it's something that helps us attain the dreams that we have set out for ourselves, and you know, in the long run, it's worth it. So one thing I definitely have noticed, especially in the day of the internet, we've really gotten away from the concept of like bartering and negotiating terms with people that we spend money for. But at the end of the day, there's a lot more things that you can negotiate, especially in the realm of like contracts, which is what you're entering into when you have like an internet provider. So and again, these tips aren't going to necessarily apply to everyone, but for the most part they will. So specifically for, I believe, like 70% of the United States is in an area where there's at least 2, if not more, internet providers in your area. And if you're living in one of those areas, then these tips will apply. If you're not, then I'll kind of give you some other ideas. But anyway, speaking specifically to those, it's really important to understand that you have a lot more power than you think you do. And the reason I say that is we live in an area where we have Xfinity and CenturyLink. And right now we're using Xfinity, but for a few years we had CenturyLink. And basically I have the power, and I'm okay with switching from one to the other. And the reason I'm okay with that is a lot of these companies will actually give you like new customer bonuses for starting as a new customer. Most of the time, a new customer to them just means someone that hasn't been a customer for 3 months.
Yeah, so just because you've been a customer previously, if you're becoming a new customer again, you can apply for the new customer bonuses.
Correct.
It doesn't mean first time customers, it just means new. So
Correct.
That's different terminology.
So honestly, if you don't want to learn the art of actually negotiating and talking with people, the easiest thing you can do is literally sign up for a 1-year contract at a new customer rate. As soon as that expires, cancel it, go to the next company, and just literally go back and forth. For me, that's a little more annoying because I typically actually prefer Xfinity, just the way that our house is laid out. The cable lines are better situated than the phone lines are for, obviously we could fix that, but for me, it's easier for me to just have a phone conversation. But again, do you. But if you're more like me and you prefer to try to stay with the provider for as long as you can, you basically all you're going to do is utilize the fact that you can switch to the other provider as leverage. So again, I kind of learned this art over time, but pretty much what you do, so I'm actually getting it, I think in about 2 months here, I'm gonna have to make this phone call again because
We'll just record it.
Yeah,
We'll share it with you guys.
The phone call. So what I finally learned, and what seems to work every time now that I try it, is you literally call in and don't mess with talking to someone about changing your service speed or anything. Literally just call and say, I want to cancel my service, and keep saying it until the automated computer robot voice finally takes you to what they call their retention services. And these are the people you want to talk to, because the people in the retention line are the ones that are like, okay, they're the last line of defense. They are literally employed to prevent you from taking your money to a competitor. Because at the end of the day, no matter how powerful Xfinity or CenturyLink or Verizon, any of these companies think they still need you giving them money in order for them to survive, and they do want to fight for your business.
Because to them, getting $20 a month is much preferred to getting
Nothing.
$0 a month.
Right.
I even had a friend, they worked for a phone company, and she told me, or she worked for Verizon, and she told me, if you want to get free stuff or better rates, literally just call and say you're going to cancel.
Yeah.
And it's their job. Like, they are paid to give you free stuff to get you to stay.
And you're not doing anything dishonest. You're not lying, because if you're not going to negotiate with me, I am going to cancel and I'm going to go to CenturyLink. So when I call, I'm not lying by saying I'm going to cancel. I just want to get to the people that are actually going to help me and not just waste my time, because my time is valuable, and the people that are not going to waste my time are the ones that are worried about me canceling.
Yeah.
So you call them and say, hey, I'm trying to cancel my service. They're never just going to cancel your service. They're always going to ask you, what can we do to keep you on? Typically for me, what all I'm looking for is I want to maintain the same rate that I have. So I think we've been with Xfinity now for 3 years, and my price hasn't gone up for 3 years. And I want to maintain that. So we can record this call, but in 2 months I'm going to call and say I'm going to cancel my service and switch to CenturyLink. And they're going to say, is there anything we can do to keep your service? Like, well, if you'll give me another year contract at this same rate that I've been paying, then I will stay on. Otherwise, I'm switching to CenturyLink because their prices are better for new customers. Every time I've done that, they've worked with me. And if they ever don't, I'm not afraid to switch back to CenturyLink. So don't be afraid. Don't think that they have any power over you, because they really don't. Even if you get stuck into like a contract, there's been times that I've like even finagled and gotten to like a contract that was cancelable, so I could actually cancel it and then become a new customer. There's so many things you can do, but that gets really, really complicated. The simple thing is, each year when your contract expires, only sign a 1-year contract. Don't sign any of these 2-year contracts.
Because that's where they get you, because then after the 1 year, they jack it up and you're in a contract. So
yeah. So always ask for a 12-month contract, and then just be willing to have a conversation every 12 months with the company that basically says, I want to cancel unless you're willing to maintain my service at the same price. You do have to be reasonable. Over time we'll probably have to pay a little bit more.
You can't be like, I demand $10 service or I'm quitting.
Right, because they still have a business to run. Yeah. But I know people that pay like $80, $90, $100 for the same internet that I'm paying $40 for.
And think of it this way, like maybe you have to make a hour-long phone call, because sometimes those calls have been a long time.
Sure.
Maybe you have to make an hour-long phone call once a year, but the amount of money you're saving over the year, like if you're saving $60 a month, how much is that over the year?
That'd be like $720.
$720. So you essentially just got a part-time gig that you got paid $720 an hour for.
That's pretty good.
Would you do it?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So yeah, it might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but the money that you're saving in the long term, that's like half a vacation. Yeah. Right there.
And I think this all just comes down to the same principle of like, don't just take the things that you're told at face value. You'll get things in the mail that say, oh, you owe this money, or oh, you need to send us a check for this. Like, ask the questions like, wait, why am I spending this? So it's the same thing with like Comcast. It's sometimes I've known people that have just gotten random rate increases. Even that happened to us once. Like our bill came in, it was like $30 higher, and I'm like, okay. So I called them like, why is my bill $30 higher? Like, oh, I'm not sure why. And then they reduced it to the lower rate. But
they will try to take your money if you let them.
If you're not paying attention, then you can lose a lot of money to things that you don't need to lose a lot of money to. And again, the whole concept of budgeting, had I not been budgeting our money, I would have never caught that they were charging us more, because I wouldn't have been over budget in that category, So that's the 2 cents here. Again, we can actually record that conversation if you guys would find that interesting, but for the most part is use that leverage of knowing that you can switch, and don't be afraid to. Now, I did mention, there are parts of the country that you don't have that leverage. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for you, but don't be afraid to call and say that you're going to cancel anyway, and see if they're willing to work with you. You may even have to call 6 times. I've done that before, until you finally get someone that gives you the answer that you want. But at the end of the day, even if you're living in an area of the country where you don't have a direct competitor, people do still want your business, and you can find someone that's willing to work with you.
Threaten to go Amish. I'm canceling, going off the grid. Just kidding, that may not work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just ask. So basically, to recap, first of all, when you call, go directly to the retention center by saying you're going to cancel. Mm-hmm. Don't deal with all these salespeople up front. Just say, I'm going to cancel, and don't stop saying I'm going to cancel until you get to the people that can actually give you what you need.
Right.
Cool. The next step, what would the next step be?
Well, and going to those people, again, if you're in an area of the country where you actually can switch, don't be afraid to switch.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to cancel and go to a different service.
Most of the time you won't have to, because they're going to actually give you what you want in order to maintain and keep your business. But if you call, 2-3 times and they're still not giving you what you want, then just cancel. Yeah. It's like walking into, when you go buy a car, the number one thing you get to remember is at any point you can walk out of the door without a car, and that's why you always have the power. Well, it's the same thing here. At any moment you can cancel and go to the competitor, no sweat.
Yeah.
So,
and just one last note, like, calling and being assertive doesn't mean you call and be a dick.
Oh, no.
Like, it doesn't mean that you call and demand your way and be a jerk. No, you actually, through this process,
nice as possible.
You be as nice as possible, because the nicer you are, the nicer they're actually going to want to treat you in return. So please do not think that this means you just call and scream and yell and get your way.
Please do not.
This does not mean that at all. This means you treat them as a person first and foremost.
Because they are.
Because they are. And you just be assertive. Just tell the truth. Say, hey, if I can't keep my rate, I'm going to have to cancel. It's literally that calm. You're going to get a far better response by being kind than you will be being a duke.
Yeah.
A duke. What is a duke?
A douche.
I was going to say douche and dick at the same time. Duke.
That's hilarious. Yeah, and I've even found, like, if you even start the conversation by asking, like, hey, like, how's your day going? What's it like in your part of the country? Or, where are you from? Kind of deal. You actually, like, lower their guard, because a lot of the people that are in the retention center are expecting you to be screaming and yelling at them.
They're expecting to get an awful phone call.
Right, and if you give them, like, that breath of fresh air of, like, oh, I'm actually dealing with someone that's level-headed and nice, then most people are going to be more willing to work with you, because they're, like, actually, like, thankful that they're not having to deal with someone that's yelling profanities at them. Right. So it's very helpful.
On that note, there was actually one time we were calling to book a cruise, and we were talking to the guy, and it turns out that, like, he was from New Mexico, and he was like, oh my gosh, I miss the green chili there. And we, like, had this big old conversation with him, and he gave us some really great rates on stuff, just because we were being nice.
Yeah.
So always be nice, don't be a dick.
Always be nice, don't be a dick.
But be assertive. And don't be afraid to stand up for what you need.
Yeah,
and
being assertive doesn't mean that you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
It just means that you aren't just going to take the first answer you get at face value. Doesn't mean you have to be a douche about it.
You said it too.
Yeah, you said it too.
Okay, cool. So now we're rambling, but I hope these tips helped you guys out, and that you are going to be able to save a lot of money on your internet, on your cable, whatever bill it might be. So anyway, if you guys have any questions on how to save money, on how to hack your life to live your dreams, please comment below. We would be more than happy to answer them and make videos on them. So
awesome.
We love you guys. Hope you have an amazing day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.